Move on to housing if we can. I know that's quite a big jump from what we've just been discussing. But Charlie Crossfield, you've got a question.
Thanks, Jeremy. I'm currently spending a large amount of my income on rent. I'd really like to purchase property in London, and I'm trying to save for deposits, but buying always seems out of reach. What would your government do to help people like me get on the property ladder?
What's your job, Charlie?
I'm a management consultant.
So and what sort of age are you, can I ask?
I'm 25.
So you're a 25-year-old management consultant, and you can't see yourself ever buying a house?
Eventually, yes, but I think prices at the moment in London are so high that it's hard to consider. Well, we've got the Minister of Housing here. He might never buy a house.
So, Charlie, I wake up every day thinking about what I can do to help people like you in London. This problem...
Why does that get a laugh? I don't know.
This problem has been 30 or 40 years in the making. Governments of both colours have not built enough homes, and that's what's fundamentally made housing less affordable. So there is a long-term solution, which is to build the homes that we desperately need, homes of all kinds. And our manifesto has a higher house-building target than the Labour manifesto has.
You have been in power for quite a while,
We have,
and Boris Johnson was mayor as well, and then people say...
Jeremy, it's really important to be honest about this. So we inherited a house-building level across the country of about 130,000 a year, and we've got it up to about 190,000 a year. So we've made progress, but I absolutely accept it is not good enough, and we need to do better.
And in London?
And likewise in London, the figures are up, but they're not good enough, and they need to be higher. So the long-term solution, Charlie, is to build the homes that are desperately needed, but in the short term, we need to help people right now. So banning letting agents from charging upfront fees to tenants to help people like you in the private rented sector, starter homes, shared ownership, schemes like that can help, the Help to Buy scheme in London that can help people get on the ladder. It is a huge task that we have to make up for this failure over 30 or 40 years. And I can tell you the Prime Minister is personally committed to ensuring that people like you that are working hard, doing the right thing, should have the chance to own your own home. OK, I'm just trying to read Charlie's expression, but I'm not sure whether you feel it's not going to happen or it is.
I feel like things like banning letting fees are important, but they're plasters on a bigger issue. I see a lot of very expensive homes being built. I don't see enough affordable homes being built.
OK. Vince Cable, you know London well. What needs to happen to allow a 20-something to buy a house? It doesn't sound like that big a problem, does it?
Well, you need a massive increase in supply. That's a fundamental problem. I think in the past we've relied too heavily on the private sector to do this alone, and they will only build if rents and house prices are going up. So you do need the public sector to be more engaged. We need councils to be building houses again for rent and sale. And to do that, they need to have more freedom to borrow. We're in a ridiculous situation in the country at the moment where councils can borrow money to invest in commercial property speculation in other parts of the country, but they're not allowed to borrow to build houses. Completely insane. I think...
And again, you were in power. I mean, with great respect, you and
indeed.
They were both, when you had that was your chance to do it.
Indeed, and we should have done a great deal more. I accept that. There are other things happening, particularly in the rented sector. For example, there are large amounts of developments going up along the river in London. They're unoccupied. They're going to remain unoccupied. It's just investment property. It's not for the likes of you. And we've got to have some kind of control on that by having a penal council tax on properties that are not used and equally stopping letting agents from advertising overseas before they can advertise in the UK.
Diana, but how is it...
abuse of the market.
How is it that we've got a situation where a flat is built and someone in Singapore buys it, they have no intention of living in it at all, it's simply an investment vehicle, they're not even going to let it out? How does that happen?
Well, it's because of deregulation, in my view. But just to say that you've raised a very important point. You have to have a salary of £59,000 to afford to rent anything in Zones 1 and 2. And it's not just a problem for you, it's a problem for employers. NHS in London has the highest turnover of anywhere in the country because nurses, doctors, professional people on reasonable salaries cannot afford to live in London.
So what do you do?
There are three things, I think. We do have to look at this question of people buying from overseas, buying off-plan and leaving it empty. I live in Dalston. Once upon a time, Dalston was a very kind of regular place. I've got tower blocks now, and at night time, there are no lights on because they've all been bought from overseas.
But how do you stop it? But how do you stop that? Everyone says it's a problem. There's one in Vauxhall, apparently. The lights are out all through the winter. How do you stop it?
Well, as Vince says, we need to work in London with the Mayor of London and look at what can be done.
But he's Labour.
I know, that's why we're going to work with him, particularly when we win on June the 8th. So...
Yeah, no one...
But also, we want to look at the levels of rent, because the levels of rent are astronomical, and we are looking at some type of rent control. And the other thing is to build more houses, as we've heard. But, you know, when the Tories talk about building houses and they talk about affordable houses, I tell you, a penny to a pound, those houses are not affordable to most of the people in this audience.
OK, but I'm still... let's just focus on this foreign... No one has yet solved this issue of the foreign investor who's not going to live here. How... Just quickly, Diane, tell us how you do it. How you stop a Russian buying a flat in London and he's not going to actually live in it?
Well, first of all, you have to work with developers to stop them. Some developers advertise these places overseas and have sold them all off plan. They need to offer them to people in London first.
Right. Sian Berry, what do you think?
This idea of selling off-plan to foreign investors, that's part of the economics of how big developers work now at the moment. All developments in London are doing it. And I'll tell you what, far too many developments that used to be council estates are doing this too. Councils in London have knocked down 8,000 council homes in recent years and they've not rebuilt them. We need to be doing more to relax the borrowing rules on councils. We need to put more grants in place so that councils and housing associations have a different economic model. They're not putting lots and lots of private flats into all of their developments, but they can focus on social rented flats and on living rent flats.
Why not
and just to say,
free up space by building on the Greenbelt? Why not do it?
There is plenty of space in central London at the moment.
Is there?
There is lots of brownfield land. There is lots of infill land that we can use.
Brownfield land's got hospitals on a lot of it.
The very last thing we should do is touch the Greenbelt. But can I talk about rents for a second? Because, actually, for the homes we already have, if we built hundreds and thousands of new homes that people could afford, that would barely dent. There's 2.3 million private renters. I'm one of them in London. Until recently, I've really struggled to pay my rent as well. And the only thing that's really going to help the existing people in London to pay their rent and save up for a deposit is the power to do rent controls. And the mayor needs that power. The government's not allowing him to have that power. I'm not even sure that Sadiq Khan's tried that hard to get it, but it's absolutely vital.
Let me go back to the audience here. And in the front row, you've been waiting patiently to ask or say something about housing.
So despite everything that's been said by the five of you, I still don't believe that I could buy a house in London. And I don't think this could happen now, in the next 5 years or in the next 10 years.
Can I ask how old you are?
I'm 23.
23 and working as?
A customer advisor.
Customer
advisor. I graduated
advisor.
last year, so I do have all that debt as well.
All right. Well, taking the average 23-year-old customer advisor, who thinks that that person, you or somebody like you, will never be able to buy a house in London? Who thinks that they will... Don't look round. It's not everybody. Some people think that you will. Anyone want to say why you think she will? Yes, at the back, yeah. Gentleman with the beard there. Sorry. Yeah. You think yes or no?
No, she won't be able to.
She won't be able to, OK. OK, this gentleman right in the far corner here. You do?
Right. I think, I mean, obviously, as politicians, and, you know, I've been listening to this debate for long. I mean, as a politician, what are you going to do to make sure young individuals are going to afford properties? Because you can sit there and talk and talk and talk. Labour's done the same thing. Liberal Democrats know the same thing as well. We've got high rent, high mortgages. What are you going to do about the properties?
All right, let me go back. Just before you answer, sorry, I want to just take some more comments from the audience. You've had your hand up for most of the programme, sir. There we go. this gentleman here, we're with a tie. Always impressed with a tie.
Thanks, Jeremy. Just for the information given, your mayor, Boris Johnson, when he's on power, London's houses affordability, in terms of affordability, do you know what's the percentage of houses been made as affordable? It's only 13%. So it's completely a gimmick to hear Tories, they are in it for everybody else.
All right. Well, yes, the affordable housing isn't affordable. That's the charge.
So this term affordable housing is used to mean different things. So it's used by housing professionals to mean council or housing association homes. So if we're talking about that, we've just given Sadiq, the mayor, £3.15 billion. And he himself says, you can go and look it up, that is the largest amount of money London has ever had for that kind of housing. But Charlie's question was a different, the gentleman at the back's question was a different one, which is how do we make housing in general for private rent, for people to buy, more affordable? And the only answer to that, ultimately, is to build enough homes so that supply keeps up with demand. And that is why that is the crucial question. And as I said, if you compare our manifesto, you can go away tonight and have a look. With Labour's manifesto, we are offering a higher level of house building than Jeremy Corbyn.
OK, Charlie, could you pick between these answerers, or is it just very, very bleak?
I find it quite difficult. And also, speaking on behalf of a few of my friends, having seen house prices rise so much above earnings growth rates for the last many years, a lot of my friends are concerned about buying now for fear of a crash and going into negative equity. So even the ones that can afford it, they're scared to go into the market because of the situation.
OK, Charlie, thank you. That's a good starter on housing. We may never get to the end of housing.